Well, welcome everybody. It is my great privilege and pleasure today to introduce our speaker. I'm going to tell you several things I like about this man and why I invited him to come. First of all, I agree that LinkedIn, well, it may not be the best thing since sliced bread, is certainly the best tool we have as job seekers. It is the most powerful thing there is. And Jeff Young is the man who knows the most about it that I have ever met. Secondly, he is not here to sell anything. He doesn't do individual coaching. He doesn't in any way benefit financially from anything he does here today. He is retired from a great career as project manager and trainer, and he did all kinds of things. But once he retired, he wanted meaning in his life. And he decided that a meaningful thing to do in his retirement would be to help other people understand LinkedIn better. And so he has proceeded on that path. Thirdly, he doesn't just rely on what he knows about LinkedIn. He collaborates with LinkedIn experts around the globe so that each of them is researching different pieces and they all teach each other. He has not only got all of his learning, but all of the learning of all of the experts he's built relationships with. And so what you are getting exposed to this morning is the result of a whole lot of really smart people learning this complex tool in a very deep way. How cool is that? So with no further ado, I am delighted to introduce Jeff Young, the LinkedIn guru, to talk about what's been changing on LinkedIn and why it's going to matter to us. Please help me welcome Jeff Young.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you, Marcia. That was wonderful. I appreciate that introduction. And thank you also for allowing me to come back. I did check, and last time we did this was in August of 2021. So it's been a few months. When you and I talked earlier, is it like, has it been a year? No, it couldn't have been a year. But maybe it's felt like a year from between then and now. But namaste, everyone. Yes, my name is Jeff Young, and I am the LinkedIn guru. Okay. If you look guru up in the dictionary, you actually see the definition of the word guru. The definition of the word guru is teacher, okay? Which is why, by the way, I've got the boy in blue behind me, because I also introduce myself many, many times by saying, hi, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower, okay? So from that perspective, that's why Superman's behind me. I believe all teachers have superpowers. I believe that, the best teachers, and we'll talk about my style of teaching. I usually don't give homework, but I did just drop something in the chat. If you'd like to look at any of those links are links that will help point you to a whole lot more tips that are a collection of what I put together in terms of an introduction of me and my tip of the week over the last 3 years. There's actually a history for the last 3 years out there, so you might be able to find something there. And I don't give homework. I'm not that kind of teacher. I'm also the kind of teacher that I think the best teachers in the world are the ones who show you where to look, but they don't tell you what to see. Okay, so I'm gonna give you some advice today. That's kind of what people want me to do when I talk about LinkedIn. I'll give you some advice, but I won't give you any advice that I haven't tried myself and done myself, or tried on other people, and they've come back and said, yeah, that sounds like a best practice to me. Okay, so. And as Marcia mentioned earlier, please put questions in the chat. Okay, if she's going to monitor the chat so that she can bring me those questions at any time she wants. I gave her carte blanche to interrupt me as we go, because I'd rather answer your questions than have to sit here and jabber at you for an hour. That's no fun for you, and it's really not much fun for me either. Okay, I'd rather have a conversation. Okay. So we'll get to that conversation either now or later. But I did see one actually thing that I could start with and talk a little bit about. As I said, there are things that one of the people in the chat already said, would you talk about creator mode? And I think that's a good one, okay, because that's one that is specifically about people who create content or wish to create content on LinkedIn. and it focuses people on your content when they come to your profile. So there's a big deal there. There's a big change there. Let me do one more thing before I go any further, and I want to find the help on creator mode very quickly. I keep these things on speed dial. I'm right now opening up a link to the help there we go, a link to the help on creator mode, and then I'm going to go drop in the chat, and I'm going to type in the word creator mode help colon, and then put this link, okay? And there it is for everybody. So you can get more there. I will not be able to tell you everything there is to know about creator mode, but I can show you an illustration. I've used it for quite
We
some time.
can't see your screen.
Oh, I'm not showing
Okay.
any screen.
All right,
yet.
very good.
All I did was update the chat.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I was still just talking about creator mode.
Very good. Okay.
So I'll show you what it looks like because creator mode is on with me, and or how you turn it on. Okay. So let me share my screen, and I'll go back to LinkedIn now. Get rid of the help and go back to my previous screen here. Okay. So when you go to your own profile, okay, down here in an area now called resources. By the way, this is one of the changes that has changed over time. I don't know does anybody here remember that this area of your profile that was right below your introductory information here used to be called your dashboard?
Mm-hmm.
Well, by the way, it's not called a dashboard anymore. It's kind of been broken out into two separate areas, one of which is this analytics bit, and another which is resources. And at the very top of resources will be creator mode, okay? And it will then allow you to turn creator mode on, okay? Or if you go to creator mode, allow you to edit it. So when you turn creator mode on, here are some of the things that will happen. First of all, you will get to add up to 5 different hashtags that you wish to have as topics, which will show up as those hashtags right here underneath your name and professional headline talks about. Okay. So this is what I talk about out there. That's what I create. That's what I create content on. Okay. That's what I actually do a lot of comments on, etc. So I have added those topics in here, and that will help point people to your content, because obviously I now have these kind of things. I want to focus on career development. That's actually at least 60% of the talks that I do are about career development. So creating content that I do will be focused on career development. It'll be focused on what I call my guru good news, okay, my hashtag guru good news. It will also be focused on what Marcia talked about before. I can't know everything there is to know about LinkedIn, so I have to have a village. Sometimes it does actually take a village to figure out what's going on and what's new on LinkedIn. So that's where Trust Your Tribe comes in. I have a tribe of people that I belong to, that tribe that are people who teach LinkedIn and people who will tell other people what's new on LinkedIn when they discover something new, okay? And then, of course, from a branding perspective, I've got this hashtag that's called hashtag the LinkedIn Guru. That's me, that's my brand, okay? Now, one of the other things that from a creator mode standpoint that will happen is that it will also make available, this is going to get to another question that came out there, because on the chat, someone asked me to talk a little bit more about podcasting or doing something like that through LinkedIn, okay? If you turn creator mode on, you now have these creator tools available to you. So if you turn creator mode on, you can actually do LinkedIn Lives, which, by the way, you can now set up your own lives, which is the live audio. So live from New York, it's Saturday night. Well, that could be you, okay? So you could actually do a live, set up an event, and each of these things gets implemented as an event. You can actually set up an event, tell people you're going to do a live. I mean, literally, we could be doing this as a LinkedIn Live on LinkedIn instead of Creation Ministry and the Zoom call, okay? And when you do a live, you can do it through a couple of third-party processes. One of them is called StreamYard, another one's called Restream. You will actually be streaming, and when you stream, then you can stream to other social media. So on LinkedIn, you could do a LinkedIn Live, but you could be streaming to YouTube, and you could be streaming to Facebook, and you could be streaming to etc. Okay, so it's really good to be able to do that as well. So that's lives. Okay, now from the podcast standpoint, okay, that will also set you up, and other events that are out there are called LinkedIn audio events. And that's where you can actually host your own audio event. And I don't think you need to actually turn creator mode on to do this, but that's basically just creating an event as an audio event, and then you will be the host, and then you can invite speakers, and then you can market it and invite other people, and it will be an audio only event. And it has its own tools, it has its own set of protocols, if you will. But that's how you could actually set your own podcast up on LinkedIn as well. And then another one that I actually gave you guys the link to this when I posted that whole bunch of social media link up at the front of this. Please be sure to save your chat, because at the very front, when we started recording, I put out a whole bunch of links, one of which was a link to my newsletter. This would actually then, because you turn creator mode on, allow you to and make available the fact that you could then publish a newsletter on LinkedIn. And I got to tell you, I talked about LinkedIn being the best thing since sliced bread and night baseball. Hey, newsletters on LinkedIn are even better than that, because that is one of the ways that, one of the really great things about newsletters, as an example, as a part of creator mode and a part of creator tools, is that that's one of the very few places that people can actually subscribe to your stuff. They can actually subscribe to your newsletter. So everybody with me here, right? This is where you turn on and turn off creator mode and give it the specifics that you want, okay? When you go to my profile, for example, one of the things you're going to see is that I featured my newsletter right here. And all you'd have to do is go to my profile and click that subscribe button, and you would get my newsletter. Now, what does that really mean, okay? Here's another win-win situation in terms of LinkedIn is concerned. If you subscribe to my newsletter, no matter what, oh, and by the way, one of the things that you'll see on my profile as well, before I go on with that, is that when you go to my profile, you're going to see a follow button. I think, Marsha, somebody in some of the advertising here said, yeah, go ahead and follow Jeff, or at least the people that, you know, by the way, I've had an uptick here recently of about a dozen people who have followed me from the West Coast. Okay, I think that's probably because of you, Marsha, and because of Career Actions Ministry. So please do follow me. But following me will get you stuff that's a possibility of seeing stuff in your homepage feed that I do. Subscribing to my newsletter will get you my newsletter whenever I publish it. Now, first of all, what does that mean? Well, that means that you're going to get it whenever I publish it. My newsletter is published monthly. Okay. Okay. So it's only monthly. It's not like you're signing up to get something every single day. Secondly, okay, it will send you an email about it. Okay, yes, you did subscribe, so therefore LinkedIn's going to tell you in an email that I just published something new. However, I will never see your email unless, of course, we're connected. Okay, but so if you subscribe to my newsletter, I will never see your email. Now, what's important about that? Well, it's important to me because, first of all, you said you wanted to see my stuff by subscribing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But secondly, I don't see your email, and I make a point of telling you that I don't see your email because guess what you'll never get from me? Spam, okay? You're never going to get spammed by me because I don't have your email to spam you with. Okay? And secondly, you know, from that standpoint, I think it's a great tool because of the fact that it actually is a way of telling, I can use it too. I can subscribe to other people's newsletters. So when they publish stuff, I'll see it as well. So it's a win-win situation. You don't get any more than one more email a month, and I never see your email, so you are never going to get any spam from me. Okay, so that's, and creator mode allows you, by the way, creator mode is one of the things that allowed you to focus on that and feature things like newsletters and things like that. So for example, if you've actually started a newsletter, one of the things that you can do, just like I did, is add to that featured section. And one of the things that you can add to that featured section is your newsletter. Okay, so that's how that got up there at the front of the process. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of creator mode. Please look at the help because there's a whole lot more in there. A couple of other things that creator mode does is that it also changes the way your profile looks. It changes so that you, like I talked about before, it changes so that you see this talks about stuff here, okay? it actually shows your number of followers, okay, and it creates a follow button instead of a connect button. Now that's unfortunate, okay, because some people actually prefer to connect. I prefer that people follow me, okay, and I will connect with people once we've actually had a chance to talk, but I prefer that people follow me. So creative mode is great for me because it turned my connect button into a follow button. That doesn't mean that you can't connect with me, because if you click more, there's still a connect button there. If you click more, you'd see a connect button and you could try to connect with me. But don't worry about that. Worry about following me first, okay? Now, what I've told LinkedIn and many of the other experts that I've talked about is that, you coupled creator mode and the follow connect thing. Wouldn't it be nice if people could focus on connecting with others, but still have creator mode on? Okay, so that's not possible right now, but that would be a really good way of doing that. Okay, so one of the other things that it also does is focus people on your actual activity, and that activity being posts. So when you go to a normal person, when you go to someone who doesn't have creator mode on, okay, as a matter of fact, I can do that by showing you. Marcia, is it okay if I show you? Got it? Okay, I looked to make sure that you said yes before I actually did it. So she doesn't have creator mode on. Okay, when I go to Marcia's activity, what I'm going to see is Marcia's activity about she posted this, okay. It will also show in here. Notice one of the things that it only does here is it shows two, okay? But it's also going to show when Marcia comments on stuff. It's also going to show when Marcia reacts to stuff, okay? So if she clicked the like button or something along those lines, that shows up in her activity. In my activity, it doesn't show two, it shows four, 1, 2, 3, 4, my last four, and it only shows posts. So it doesn't mean that I haven't had activity where I've liked something or I've commented on something, but it's going to focus on my posts here so that people can find them easier, especially the last four, because as you can see, in 2 weeks, I've done 4 posts, okay? And from an activity standpoint, I posted these kind of things more recently than others. And again, I don't post that often. I post about once a week as well. Okay, so you're going to see the tip of the week out here. You're going to see Guru Good News out here. All of those kinds of things that are going to be available to you. But that's another change from the standpoint of creator mode, is that it also focuses people on your activity from a content creation standpoint. Okay. Okay. Questions, Marcia? Anything you think that's important to cover?
Question is, what do you think are the most underutilized great features of LinkedIn?
I'd say creator mode is probably one of them. I'll leave it at that, because I think here's why it's underutilized. As I said before, there are 815, I think I said, million of your closest friends out here. There's a statistic that I monitor pretty much on an ongoing basis. And of those 815 million people, only about 1 to 5% of those people actually create content on a weekly basis. So if you want to differentiate yourself, creating content would be a really good way of doing that. Okay, and creating content through creator mode would focus people on your content as well. So I think that's really, really underutilized. It went from 1 to more like 5%. And the only reason it went up, it used to be like nothing more than about 1% of 815 million people that create content on LinkedIn. It went up to 5%. You know why it went up to 5%? COVID again. Because there were more people on LinkedIn and spending a lot more time on LinkedIn. So therefore, a lot more people were spending, creating content on LinkedIn. So that's an underutilized feature as well. I will also tell you another underutilized feature that I don't think people use nearly as well or as effectively as they should, and that's search. I mean, I assume most of you who are in the job search process use the LinkedIn search, but how often do you use the LinkedIn search? And what do you search for? Okay, so here's something that, let me illustrate it by talking about it in terms of like this. Let me say that you might be interested in, let's just take something that, without asking you, I'm just going to pick an industry. Let's say you might be interested in the automotive industry, okay? So in order to get to automotive things related, all kinds of things, all around the possibilities on LinkedIn, you can type in automotive and then see all results. Now that's going to get me far enough that I can illustrate the kinds of things that you're going to see. Because now you can start to filter these things by people who talk about automotive, posts that are content about automotive. There are, if you go, well, and it probably won't go, yeah, there's more people. Okay, all right, so let me stop down there. That's as much as LinkedIn illustrate eventually. So I can filter it by people, I can filter it by posts, I can filter it by jobs that are related to, I can filter it that if I want to find a school about automotive, I can do that. Courses that LinkedIn has about automotive, events. This is definitely an underutilized feature. If I want to see events that LinkedIn has out there about managing complexity in automotive engineering, Africa Automotive, these are events that are coming up online Thursday, April 28th, June 22nd, Tuesday, April 26th, etc. And all I got to do is go to this event, open this event, and sign up for it. And then LinkedIn will remind me that it's going to be happening. Because these events are what I was back to and talking about before. These events are either LinkedIn Lives or audio events. Okay, so you can learn a whole lot more about an industry from that standpoint as well. Okay, so and by the way, one of the other things that is again totally underutilized is you can find groups that are related to automotive as well. So again, all these filters are something that just doesn't get utilized nearly enough. As a matter of fact, if you actually ended up picking, and by the way, it goes deeper than this. Okay, if you've actually been on LinkedIn enough to actually play with this and figure out what goes on if you click this or go there. Okay, let's say I want to see posts about automotive. If I click the filter for posts, it brings up posts by automotive. Here's a brand new thing that I think is so cool because now that I'm in the posts for automotive, I can actually use a filter here that says, hey, I can actually pick somebody. I can go from a member and type in a name and find that person's content. The guy I know that knows the most about automotive in the world is a guy by the name of Craig Langley. And if I click Craig Langley and bring up show results for him, I get to see all his posts about automotive. A simple, easy way of getting there. But notice that you can do for company, and I can also, do it by date posted. So that was 7 months ago. Okay. Well, the posted by was him. Okay. I can say within the past week what I want to see what Craig's done as well. Okay. That did work, didn't it? I think. Yep. Past week show results. Excuse me. It did show results. Okay. He hasn't done anything in the last week, but you get the idea. You can filter it. And so searching and the filtering is one of the most underutilized things as well. Okay. Let me talk about one more thing before I go back to ask for questions. And that is something, again, that is related to how you interact with LinkedIn. I think understanding how LinkedIn works, okay, because LinkedIn is a tool. It's just like any other tool. I mean, it's just like any other Microsoft, well, not exactly like any other Microsoft tool, but it's no different than Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint or Microsoft Excel. You got to know how to do something in it in order to get the best results out of it. Okay, so here's something I want to show you, and I think it's an important one. It's something that I don't have yet, okay, but it's something that I want you to understand and see. And it's not about yourself, but it's about getting to someone else's content or finding someone else's content. It's a feature called the bell. Now, what that allows you to do is go to someone's profile and ring their bell. Now that could have all kinds of different connotations, okay? But what it really means is that if you go to someone's profile and you like what they do and you want to hear more about them in your feed, or you want to make sure LinkedIn will notify you every time they do a post, then click or ring their bell. Okay. Now, the way that works, unfortunately, is that I can't show you what that looks like because I don't have it. If you are, first of all, you need to be connected or following someone. Okay. So you won't be able to ring my bell, which is the second step after you follow, until after you follow me. Okay. But if I had the capability of ringing someone's bell, it would show up right here. See where my cursor is pointing? The lower right corner of her background photo, background banner. Okay. There'd be a bell there. And that bell would be light. If you click the bell, it will turn the bell dark, and you get a message down at the bottom of the screen that says you will be notified whenever Marcia Davis Cannon posts something. Isn't that a great feature? I have been asking LinkedIn for this for ages, and they finally gave it to everybody else but me. Oh well, I'll get it eventually. Okay, but it's everybody else but me, but that's a great feature. And oh, by the way, again, it's very confusing because people talk about the bell, and it's about ringing someone else's bell, not yourself. So you can ring my bell if you go to my profile and you have followed me or you're connected with me. You will be able to see the bell if you have the feature. Now that gets me to an explanation about how things get rolled out on LinkedIn. Has anybody ever heard the phrase, yes, random is a sequence? Okay, it's not exactly random, but it is random to a certain extent. Okay, first of all, LinkedIn can't roll stuff out in just 1 week to 815 million people. It's just not infrastructurally possible. Okay, so here's what LinkedIn does. When they are rolling stuff out, they roll it out to 5 different waves of people. Now, but the interesting thing about that is that this time when LinkedIn rolls out something, I could be in wave 1, but for a different kind of change that they roll out, I could be in wave 5. And what they do to roll stuff out in waves is they roll it out in ever increasing size of waves. So when they roll it out to the first wave, and I don't know what the numbers are, no one does except LinkedIn. Okay, so let's say they roll it out to 10% of the people on LinkedIn, okay, which is not bad. I mean, it's a lot of people, 81 million people, right? You know, that's a lot of people. So they roll it out to 10% of the people, and then they wait. Because when they roll it out, they want to see what happens with it. They want to see what happens in terms of whether or not it works, okay, or whether it might have a bug in it, or what kind of reaction people are making to it, okay? And if all goes well, okay, then in a little while, they'll roll it out to the second group and go on and on and on. Now, in the case of the bell, for example, what they did was roll it out to a bunch by the way, the bell has been rolling out now for 6 solid months. So that's a little long. That's a little longer than normal. But here's why. Because when they rolled the bell out, they discovered some bugs with it. So rather than roll it out to everybody, okay, and try to fix it afterwards, they are trying to fix things about the bell first. Because there are a lot of people out there that if you talk to them about the bell, they say, well, I rang somebody's bell and I still don't see anything from this person. Well, that means it's not working. Okay, so there's a glitch there. There is something wrong there somewhere. There's a gremlin in the works. So they have actually halted the rollout of the bell while they actually take my advice, which is fix stuff first. Remember that hashtag that I was talking about earlier? Okay? They're actually trying to fix some of the stuff with the bell first before they roll it out to the rest of us. I'm going to get it, but I'm still waiting. Okay. So that's kind of how things roll out. And as I said, there's at least one change every single week. Now, let me also tell you that I'm also a teacher that talks to the adage somewhat biblically that says, you know, if I give you a fish, I feed you for the day. If I teach you to fish, I feed you for the rest of your life. Teaching you to fish as far as what's new on LinkedIn, I want to introduce you to a gentleman from Dallas, Texas. This gentleman's name is Kevin D. Turner. And Kevin D. Turner is the king of what's new on LinkedIn. For the longest time, I used to actually keep a separate list. Up until about 2 years ago when I met Kevin, I used to keep a separate list of what's new on LinkedIn. And I kept, a PDF document of new links so that I could start to explain to people, et cetera. And so when I did my what's new and why should you care, I actually used to use that as a handout. Well, you know what I hand out now? I hand out a link to Kevin's profile because he has something that, well, and especially if you go looking at his newsletter, look at what he's featured on. He's got an article on LinkedIn that is 2022 new feature. And by the way, his hashtag is new LinkedIn feature, hashtag new LinkedIn feature. Okay. And if you go to this, you can look at an article that will explain to you in detail all the things that have happened most recently, including something that happened on April 20th. So he rolled that out. He updated that on April 20th to give you those kind of things. So you're going to see things like audio. If you go down through here, he has a different thing for each one. Assigning skills is one. I was going to go down to where I could show premium analytics is one. Newsletters for companies is one. Future skills is one. The one I wanted to, there's the LinkedIn Podcast Network. You might want to, the person who was related to the question about podcasts might want to check that one out. Here's something called profile video. If you want me to explain more about that, I'll try. Okay. But one of the ones that I wanted you to see down here was really adding the newsletter, adding media, creation analytics, audio live events. That's what I mentioned, audio live events. Audio live events has been out there since January. So you may not have even seen an audio live event. You may not even know it existed before, but he knew about it on January 6th and before January 6th and published something about it. So please follow Kevin, even connect with Kevin if you want to. He's got the ability to connect with him. Okay. If you do try to connect with him, though, tell him I sent you. Okay. Please give him credit for where it is due, because I'm highlighting him because he's the best that I've ever found at this when it comes to new features on LinkedIn. Okay. I'll shut up for a second and we'll see what we got as far as questions is concerned.
All right.
How are we doing on time?
We're halfway through.
That's good. Okay.
One of the question, I guess the reverse of the what are the most underutilized is what are the pitfalls on LinkedIn? What are the mistakes people make using it?
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I'll tell you what. To explain that one, I'm going to give you a sneak preview. Hear about the first, first week in May somewhere. I'm going to be publishing my new newsletter. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to show you. I'm going to show you the draft of that newsletter because it's going to mention a couple of things that I think people. My advice actually on my newsletter, okay, will be what not to do. Sometimes people go do's and don'ts. Well, I'm going to go mostly don'ts, okay, in this newsletter. So here's some of the things that people do that I think are mistakes on LinkedIn. Let me edit my newsletter and I'll bring it up. And it actually, the full title of this is Be Effective on LinkedIn by Not Doing These Things. Okay. So I got, my newsletters are all, I've got graphics in them. They're here. Here's the intro. I won't bore you with the intro. You can read the intro later on. But there's Spock, there's my buddy Spock, because I'm a Star Trek nut, by the way, in case you hadn't noticed with my emojis that I use. But the Spock saying no way, right? Shouldn't do this. Okay, so one of the things that I think people do, it's good to post on LinkedIn, but it's not good to post too often. Okay, I have found that as a sweet spot for me, posting once or twice a week is good enough. Okay, it's good enough to build an audience. It's good enough to build a group of followers. It's good enough and the point being is that, what it gets down to here is that, some people say to post once a day. Well, that might work. That might work for you. Okay, but for me, I doubt most folks have time to see my stuff every day in the first place. Okay, so I'm trying to feed it out there. And oh, by the way, my goal is to provide the best tips I can and provide quality, not quantity. Okay, so that's one of the things I think that makes a big difference. So don't post too up. Post, yes, it's a good thing. If you're inclined to do so, there's lots of people who don't, but if you're inclined to do so, it's a good differentiator. but don't post too often. First of all, posting more than once a day in a day, what it does is there's this thing out on LinkedIn called an algorithm, and the algorithm controls and helps to try to spread the word when you do a post, spread your content to people. Well, when you post a second time in the same day without letting your post breathe, that second post puts the kibosh on the first post. That first post is going to die. Done. It's done. It might as well not have posted it because it's not going to get any more interaction. Probably it's going to be gone, and the only thing that will get interaction is the next post. So posting too often is is a bad way of quashing your own post, quashing your own content. So again, I don't go there. Okay. So it really is a case of less is more. Okay. Here's another mistake I think people make. Have you guys? I'll explain the term. Okay. But the term I'm going to give you now is a term called there's a thing out here on LinkedIn called an engagement pod. Now, a pod is just a group of people, but what these people have done is gotten together and decided that they would promise to regularly like and comment on each other's posts. Now, that's not a bad thing from a networking standpoint. I do regularly interact and comment with my network from that standpoint, but this is arbitrarily done. Okay, this is actually generating a pod of people, a group of people who actually some of the people will actually start this as a way of monetizing LinkedIn, and the people that they get to be a part of this pod actually have to pay for the privilege of being a part of it. What is up with that? I'm going to pay so that people can start to like my stuff? I don't think so. I'm gonna, I won't pay you to like my stuff, but I hopefully will put enough quality stuff out there so that you will actually come look for it, on its own merit. So that's a mistake I think people make as well. Okay, it's very short-sighted. It's not being real. It is trying to fool the algorithm. It is trying to fool the artificial intelligence out there on LinkedIn, and I don't think it's a good idea. Okay. Now, some people may swear by it, and by the way, the way I write things is, when I think of pods and when I think of pod people, I can't help but harken back to that 1956 movie that some of you may recognize. It was actually called Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and pod people back then, it didn't work out so well. Okay, so that's why that's there. All right. Thing number 3, okay, of what not to do is something called a tag wall. You can see this on certain people's posts. If you wander through the feed, you'll see that some of the people do this. What a tag wall is a bunch of people being mentioned in a post to also arbitrarily generate more reach for the post because it notifies all those people to come and interact with your post. Now, I'm not against mentioning someone on your post. If you mention someone in order to give them credit, etc. So I'll mention people's names occasionally, but I do not put a list of 20 names together and put those same people on every single one of my posts. That's ridiculous. Okay. So mentioning people, a tag wall, that's why it's called a tag wall. It's tagging, like tagging in Facebook, tagging on LinkedIn. Tag wall, is again a short-term win, but I think the point being here is that at a minimum, it might annoy the person that you tag, because if you tag them without asking their permission, then you're just kind of trying to throw your name dropping. Okay, don't be a name dropper. Okay, don't do it that way. But it's okay if you want to mention me, as long as you ask me, and then I don't mind being part of a group of 20 people, because there is a gentleman, for example, from the UK who publishes a post once a day that has to do with music, and I'm a music lover and I want to see his posts, so I've given him permission to tag me in that post. But doing a tag wall arbitrarily, okay, at a minimum, it will annoy the person that you tag. At worst case, you might annoy them enough that they might actually unfollow you or even disconnect from you or block you. Worst case, they might even block you, because again, you're being spammy on LinkedIn. Okay. Automation, in terms of automation that is against LinkedIn's terms of service. I won't tell you the list of these. You can go find a list of these if you look it up on Google. if you look at this, LinkedIn does not want you to be automated in terms of going out there and doing comments and going out there and doing likes and reactions and those kind of things. And there's a whole bunch of tools that help you automate even trying to get connected with other kinds of people. That's against LinkedIn's terms of service as well. So there's a whole bunch of external tools that will allow you to manipulate LinkedIn in an automated fashion. And the overarching usual term that you hear about that is that it's a bot. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm actually in favor of utilizing your browser or other tools. And I'm not against a tool like Hootsuite that would help you schedule and post content. That's okay. I don't use Hootsuite, but that one's okay as far as LinkedIn is concerned. But it's other tools that allow all this arbitrary bang, 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 doing stuff, 100 things at once, okay, at one time without any kind of real engagement. That's what LinkedIn is against, because LinkedIn wants to be used as a networking tool, not as an automation tool. It's not that kind of thing, okay? So there's no substitute really going out there and engaging on a post or engaging in others' comments with others' content. And then one final thing is, if you're going to post, this is related to what we talked about before, but please, if you are going to post something, please do not post and ghost. And what does that mean? That means that you just post something and leave it and don't ever go back to it. You're posting it just because you wanted to put content out there. You don't care if anybody engages with it or not. That's not the reason you should be posting. You should be posting so that you get that interaction. And posting and ghosting means that if someone comments on your stuff, you're going to ignore that comment and not comment back, which is why it's an important piece of the process that if you're going to make a commitment to post on LinkedIn, you should also make a commitment to be around after you post that post on LinkedIn for at least the first 2 to 3 hours, to at least acknowledge all of the comments and content and reactions that happen on your post, so that LinkedIn's algorithm will say, look, this person's doing it right. They are actually interacting, and people did interact in the first 3 hours. And by the way, when that happens, when there are more comments within the first 3 hours, then LinkedIn will actually spread your content to more and more and more people. So it's a ripple effect. So if you actually spend time babysitting, for lack of a better term, your post, okay, when you babysit your post, you'll actually get better reach for that post. So it's worth the invested time, because your post will get seen by more people. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's kind of 5 don'ts, if you will, but that's more than you ever asked for, I'm sure. But that's 5 don'ts that I think those are kind of the most common things that I see people do that I believe are the opposite of a best practice. I think those are the worst practice. Okay, what else?
In terms of content, a couple questions. How is creating content from creator mode different from just writing an article and posting it? And do you have recommendations on how you decide what documents to upload, what kind of content to create?
Okay, so let's see, a couple of questions. First of all, how is it different related to creator mode? And so to some degree, creator mode and the ability to create content are not related, okay? Because I don't have to have creator mode on in order to create content. Okay, don't get the wrong impression. Okay, so you don't have to turn creator mode on. You can go out to your homepage and you can start a post, any kind of post you want. Okay, and you can start a post by putting up a photo with it first. You can upload videos. You can you can tell people you have a job. If nothing else, and you're not sure what kinds of content can be created, here's a good way of figuring it out. Click start a post, and then start looking here. Okay, I can add, now this is obviously where the content goes. What do you want to talk about? Okay, so here's where you start typing, or you have copied and pasted. You can copy and paste something in here, right? But then in addition to that, you can add, okay, a photo to that content. You can add a video to that content. So there'll be text and then video. Okay, you can upload a document. Okay, so I'll show you one that I love the most. Okay, here in a second. And upload a document. Adding a document really means adding a PDF. Okay, most folks, it's a bad idea to upload a Word document. So when you actually say add a document, it's going to say, well, where is that document and how would you like, or just choose a file. Okay. And when you choose a file, it's actually going to come up with .doc. You see the stuff down here in the lower right hand corner. Okay. But I recommend it if you're going to upload something, you upload it as a PDF. Okay. So that's really the best way to do that, because PDFs are better than uploading a Word document, because any document you upload can be downloaded. Therefore, what you'd be giving is somebody a Word document that they could actually download and then change. So don't do that. But PDFs are at least more safe from that standpoint. Okay. All right. So photo, video, okay, document. This is the one, if you actually have a company, you can share that you're hiring. You can create something that would celebrate an occasion. You can create a type of post that is called a poll. You can actually poll your network on a topic of some sort that says, what do you guys think? I mean, for example, one of the things that I've toyed with, I don't do a lot of polls. There's so many different kinds of content that, I get into a rhythm. So I usually end up posting the same kinds of content for the most part, although I do intersperse a document here or there and a video here and there. But I could create a poll that would go out to my network and say, what do you folks think should be the topic for my next newsletter? And give them 4 choices, and then let them vote. Okay. So that topic, it could be anything that you really, really want. Okay. Now, if there's more, by the way. Okay. Here are all the, once you notice what I just did there, I clicked 3 dots. I don't want to do that without it. I click start a post. Here are the other things that come up at the bottom immediately. But now if I click 3 dots always means more. So more, I could do the same thing, add a photo, document, create a poll, but I can also create an event as a post. So if I want to highlight an event, especially an event on LinkedIn, I can create an event post that would create something out there that would invite people to come, because it would be a post that would go out to my network, etc. Okay. Again,
Are you limited to only one of those things? Could you do 2? Could you link to another site and add a photograph?
That is correct. So linking to the other site might be, you could put the other site link in here.
Yes.
Okay. But you could also add an event that would be something else, et cetera. So, these two work together. Okay. The type of post will also always be augmented by the text that you put inside the post, right? And so even if I were to do a video, it's really just going to upload a video. Okay. So if I were to tell LinkedIn that I want to add a video, okay, I have to generate a video. I got to grab a video. Let me upload a real quick one. So there's my there's my video. I won't upload this. I won't really do it. Okay, but when I say done, it comes back to allow me to then augment that video with comments, with a up to here. Okay, the text that is allowed on here that would be related to the video is actually up to and including 3,000 characters. By the way, as a best practice, here's something else that I will tell you don't do. Here's something else that I see people make a mistake of all the time. They put too much text in what they're trying to post because people won't read it after they get to a certain point. Okay. LinkedIn, one of the changes LinkedIn made a long time ago, some time ago now, was change the limitation on the number of characters in this from 1,300 to 3,000. I went, oh no. I'm never going to use that. Okay. And I force myself to be succinct and do what I need to say in the amount of, characters that's closer to 1,200 than 3,000. Okay.
So if you include 2 links, so say a video and a link to another site, let's say Eventbrite for a CAM meeting, and I wanted to also post a video of Jeff Young talking about LinkedIn, it's only going to preview one of those 2?
The video would be, again, if you're talking about a link, you can include as many links as you want here in the text. Okay.
And if I only do a link, it brings up a preview of that link with the image on the link.
Yes.
But if I also have attached a video, it would show the video and just the link to the link without a preview of it?
Yeah. If you created a video post, it would show you. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it doesn't know what to do. If you actually were to create a post that had 2 different links in it, it doesn't know which one to pick. So it's just going to show the links.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So it would end up being a text post with 2 links in it. If you actually end up, well, and I think that's illustrated actually by what you did, isn't it, Marcia? When you did this post, Then bear with me. When you did this post,
Yes.
you put a link in there.
Yes.
And as you said, it
And that's
knew
the
the
preview of the
difference
link.
with that link. Exactly.
Yeah.
If you'd actually had two different links in there, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have known what to do with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So yes. So
Okay.
that makes a difference. But again, on and on and on, there are all kinds of different possibilities. Let me just say in terms of, this whole question was, what are the kinds of posts you can do? It's practically unlimited. I think more than anything else, though, first of all, it's best if you post something that is about someone else to a certain extent. In other words, if you're posting, I had a cheese sandwich today for lunch, why don't you go over on Facebook and stay there? Or Twitter, I guess Twitter, since we talked about Twitter, because I don't care that you just had a cheese sandwich for lunch, okay? But if you say, you know what, I think cheese sandwiches are the best thing since, and they're much better if you put mayonnaise on them and bacon, okay? I might actually want to hear that one here. And oh, by the way, here's a scientific study that says cheese sandwiches are good for you. Okay, so then it's not about you. It's about helping someone else figure out whether or not they'd like a cheese sandwich or not. Okay, but the fact that so it's about, my whole point here being is that it's about your audience. When I post something, it's about my audience. My most recent post, for example, isn't about me as such. Yes, I'm included in it because it was about how I collaborated with the lady that I mentioned earlier. Remember I told you the lady's name, Jillian Whitney? Okay, the queen of easy peasy video. By the way, if you want to do anything related to video, talk to Jillian. Okay, talk to Jillian in terms of what you should do as far as video is concerned. Connect with her. Tell her I sent you as well, because she is the queen of easy peasy video. She just knows how to do it and make it easy on everybody. But my post here was, okay, about good news about people who make you better. See, it's not about me. It's about people who make me better. Guess who that person is? That person is Jillian Whitney. Okay, and she has become a trusted friend. Okay, we just had a connectversary, what I call a connectversary on LinkedIn on April 20th. It's an anniversary of we're being connected, and we've shared Zooms and lives and DMs and conversations of all sorts of things. And you want proof of how much better she makes me? Look at all this stuff. Here are sessions that we've done about what's called GIFs. Some people might not even know what a GIF is. Okay, I'll tell you what a GIF is in these sessions. She and I will tell you what a GIF is in these sessions, why you'd want to use them. Okay, here's something we did about LinkedIn newsletters. You want to know everything there is to know about LinkedIn newsletters? Well, probably not everything, but in a half an hour, okay, you can get a whole lot of information about newsletters. And oh, by the way, you want to save your time and sanity on LinkedIn? Here's what she and I collaborated on to do that as well. I couldn't do this without her. It's just not possible to do without her. So I'm giving her credit from that standpoint. And the coolest part about this is that as I went through this process and I did this, making it about somebody else, I'll show you what the result of that is. Okay, making it about somebody else has allowed that post in 2 days to get 4,500 views, 73 reactions, and 142 comments and 1 share. Making it about someone else when you post will also help you reach more people as well. Hope that makes sense. One of the things that I think a lot of people do that to some degree turns me off a little bit is that every single post that they do has got them in a selfie. I don't mind if they're smiling. I'm going to get tired of it sooner or later. I've seen your selfies, okay? So give me something else to look at. Now, by the way, okay, I'm going to shut up there because we're talking too much about posting, but you get the idea in terms of it's one of the best ways that you can find your audience. It's one of the best ways that you can find your tribe is posting stuff out there on a consistent basis and then figuring out who's coming to look at it. Okay, as an example, finding your audience. What's next? I got one I can show you.
Somebody brought up the LinkedIn social selling index. Does creating a lot of content in creator mode give you a higher rating on the social selling index? And Ian posted a link to get it so everybody can look up their own.
Oh, they can look up they can look up their SSI. The answer to that is creator mode has absolutely no, honestly, creator mode has very little or honestly no effect on your reach. Not really, not huge, okay? Because more than anything, what has an effect on your reach is the interactions that you get when you do a post, not the fact that you've got creator mode on. Remember, I said you can post without having creator mode on. So they're not necessarily related. All creator mode does, and the purpose behind creator mode, is to focus people on your content when they come to your profile. That's what its real job is, okay? Now,
So what kind of people is creator mode really really effective to turn on?
really effective for people who want to increase their audience of followers, really effective for people who want everyone who comes to their profile to focus on the content that they create instead of their profile itself. Does that make sense? Okay.
So if somebody's a job seeker, what content would you suggest is most powerful for them to create?
Any content that is about and will help you tell people more about the job you're looking for in the first place. Okay.
And what your skills are in doing it.
Any content that would tell people about, I'm looking for this kind of job. Does anybody know about it? Any content that will be, here's stuff about that I've found in my industry that was best practices in what I do and what I want to do. Okay, etc. Okay, so that kind of content, focus on the audience, focus on the people that you want to see the content, because those are the people that, if those people see your content, they might actually have a job for you, as an example. So again, your audience, you have to tailor it to that audience, just because you're a job seeker doesn't mean that you can't put out content that's valuable. Okay, you've got experience too. So put out content that shows your experience, put out content that shows your knowledge, put out content that shows you're a subject matter expert about something. Okay. Oh, and even if you're put out content. Look, I love LinkedIn. Guess what every single topic of my content is? Duh. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to show you that I just had a cheese sandwich for lunch, because that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what my audience wants to hear. Every single thing I'm going to have out there is going to be related to some sort of LinkedIn tip of some sort, because that's what I do. I'm trying to be a teacher, etc. Now, I may have some weird looking content every once in a while that's actually got me with Superman behind me, or me even in a cape. Okay. It might. Okay. That's the human piece of me. That part is, by the way, that's okay to be a business like that as well, because I'm trying to find people who are interested in listening to me. One of the people I know that is a really, really wonderful gentleman that I've met a long time ago from here's the key, the audience, finding your audience. Okay. When you're posting content to find your audience, here's his quote: attract the best, repel the rest. That's really what you're focusing on, is attracting the audience that you want to talk to, that you want to have the conversations with every single time. Now, your question about whether or not creator mode has anything to do with SSI, and the answer is absolutely not. Okay. In my experience, there's a lot of things that don't have to do with SSI. Okay. SSI, to me, social selling index, honestly, people may take exception with this, but I have, over time, all of the time that I've ever seen my social selling index, it hasn't had a thing to do with me being successful on LinkedIn. Okay. Now I'm going to show you my SSI. That is, I don't know what it is, but I've got a link to it as well. So I'll show you mine. It's probably 60. Okay. Yeah, 60 something. Okay. As long as you're anywhere between 65 and 70, you've done most of the right kinds of things. But the problem being is that I've become, and here's why I don't think SSI is of much use at all. I almost never look at it, even though I have a bookmark for it. Okay. The components, I have never figured out anything that will actually help raise my SSI number if you're a numbers person, except actually buying Sales Navigator, paying for Sales Navigator, which is a premium service on LinkedIn. That would actually get you a bump in SSI. But honestly, here's why I don't think creator mode or anything else like that has any effect on it. I've had creator mode on for quite some time. My SSI over
Mhm.
time, over the last 2 years, has gone down from 70 to 66.
Hmm.
But I'm still just as successful as I ever was, and perhaps even more successful on LinkedIn, because on an average, I get 5,000 to 6,000 views for every post. I get 70 to 80 reactions for every post, and I get 105 to 110 comments on every post. That has not, with that kind of success, my SSI number is a 66. Who cares? So there's another reason I never even look at SSI anymore.
Okay. Going back to something you talked about earlier, that is the letting your postings breathe, and how posting them more than one a day actually kills the first one. If you posted one a day, does that not kill the first one?
It's not as bad, because what that does with a 24-hour turnaround, if you will, okay? Um, some people will say that it's at least a minimum of 8 hours. I don't know. I'd say it's at least that minimum. But if you're posting once a day, again, the problem with posting once a day is you got to come up with a new idea every single day. Okay, even if it's only 5 days a week, even if it's only Monday through Friday. But if you have given your post enough time to breathe, then it will have gone through the full, if you will, cycle that the algorithm gives it. And there probably will not be much more interaction after 24 hours on that previous post anyway. Now, that's not always true, okay? Because I frequently will actually find that I get a comment on a post that I did a week ago.
Mm.
Okay, so, and it's not a lot, but it's only like one. Okay, but to me, it's my responsibility. One of my best practices, for example, is that since I posted, at least once a week, and even if I posted more frequently than that, I would go back to my posts and I would monitor my posts to see if there were any new comments on them, and then I would comment back. Now, let me show you how I do that. If you do post, your most recent post will be right here on the home page with a link to it right here. Views to your post. It's also on your profile under views to your post. Okay. If I go there, what I can then do is that will bring up my most recent post. So here's my most recent one 2 days ago. There's another one that you can see is 6 days ago, etc. Okay. Okay. Now, what I can do is that when I click on comments here, now I can also monitor this number. So, it says this one's got 142 comments. Okay. I can also, if I'm not sure, I can monitor that number and say, yeah, I think that was the same as last time. So I've gotten no new comments. But if I'm not sure, I can click on the 142 comments thing, and then it will bring up the comments for that post. See this? An important thing to remember here is that if you want to be sure that you check to see if someone new has commented on your posts, click this where it says most relevant and change it to most recent. And that will then bring up the most recent comments on your post, which will then, you can see whether or not you've actually commented back on. And you can do that with every single post. So a post that I did 6 days ago, I can go out here, and I know this number hasn't changed, but I can click on the comments, okay, and then I can go most recent, and it brings up the most recent one, okay. So this post was literally, honestly, this one was not, it was about my tribe, but it was about actually, in terms of celebrating. Okay, so that was one. It was not actually about LinkedIn tips as such, other than the fact that I'm advertising that I do them. But there was the last post on that one, and that last post. So see, here's an example. This post was 6 days ago. The last commented on it was 3 days ago. See what I'm talking about? That's where I say, yep, okay. So occasionally I'll get a post that that will get some more comments on it, even though it was more than a day old.
Very good. All right, I'm gonna call a halt to this. It's 11 o'clock. I'm gonna let you take a breather. We'll do our announcements and then we'll bring you back up. We've got lots of questions still in the chat to cover, and I'm sure lots in the audience that they haven't articulated yet. So let's pause you. Thank you so much for amazing information and content. Thank you. We will go from here.